what I do want to know is what you guys think about my number 5, where I've put Denilson from FC Dallas, a former World Cup winner with Brazil, signed as the first designated player ever ahead of the 2007 season from Al Nassr, where everybody seems to be flocking to on these days. It was a massive move, arguably the best player from the 2002 World Cup team that won the World Cup, signing him into the league, fans around the country, expecting full crowds to see him play. And at 29 years old, too, it wasn't like he was coming over at 35. I mean, this dude was still ready to play. It wasn't a PR. I mean, it was a PR move, but he was expected to do things. They paid him to win games, and that was not necessarily the case. He played here just 6 months, played a total of 8 times, scored just 1 goal, 8 of a possible 24 points for FC Dallas. And it was a penalty, by the way. The
Oh,
goal.
we know
And
how you feel about penalties.
Of course,
Connor knows. Yeah, Connor knows how I feel about penalties. We know he was being paid a record salary at the time of almost $900,000, which is 1.32 mil today. But at the time, it was 900K in 2007. His price per goal contribution was 20th highest of all attacking designated players and 8 times more than what FC Dallas paid anybody else in 2007, including the very dangerous defender Chris Gabandi, the eternal center back Drew Moore, USMNT standout Clarence Goodson, all of them better goal per price contribution than Denilson. He was signed for a late season push to the 2007 playoffs, which they did get to. They would go to KC. He'd sit the bench for 1 game, play 50 minutes in game 2. They would lose, and he would go. Head coach Steve Morrow basically said his salary was too high for what they were doing. So he moved on to Brazil to finish out his career.
Yes. So before we started recording, I told you that I was going to leave someone off that, most people would have very high off. And because of my criteria, it was Denilson. Nice. He is a lock on pretty much everyone's list. So I'm not surprised you had him. I just went with the had to be there for more than one season thing. So that's why he was not on my list. But, if I did do that, he would probably be top 3 even for me. Because, expectation versus reality. I mean, it's the Instagram special right there with Denilson.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, so I can't argue with it. I just, don't have him on my list because of my criteria.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me was if it was a loan and it was like a half season loan, I said, okay, we'll forget about you. But if you were signed and then released or signed and not picked back up, then I was like, okay, you didn't earn it. That means you weren't good enough.
Yeah.
But he's clearly not at your 5. So who do you have at your 5?
At number 5. So this is a player who was a big name coming in, not Denilson level, but a very big name, Premier League legend. And this player actually was a flop of a DP for multiple clubs, which is very fun to think of. But I did Freddie Lundberg.
Nice.
Of Chicago Fire and Seattle Sounders fame. Well, really Arsenal fame. But, this is a guy that, great expectations coming in the league, him being Freddie Lundberg, and he was just garbage. So he really was not good in MLS. When I was first starting to watch MLS, I'm exposing how young I am, I guess. That was around the time he was in the league. And, even then for me, he was the laughing stock. And I just didn't, he was just never great for what he was supposed to be in MLS. And yeah, he was a bust for 2 different clubs, not just one.
That's a great pick. He was on mine because once again, I think he was another 07 guy making 1.3 mil a year. So, thinking about things like that. But Connor, your thoughts on that? Do you know who that is, Connor?
Yes, I've heard of him before.
Connor didn't start watching till 2018. Is that right? You came in with Atlanta?
Yeah, whatever. I think it was 2017.
Might have been 17, right? Yeah. So we like to pick on him a little bit. That's okay.
Yes, I know who that is. And I think it makes complete sense that he's on your list just based off your criteria, especially like the expectations part of it. So that and plus the bonus part of being a flop for 2 teams. That's extra special.
I don't think I have anyone else. I mean, you could say Kevin Cabral's a flop for 2 teams, but I'm still holding on to a little bit of hope for him at Colorado. But, very few players in MLS history have been flops for 2 teams, designated player wise. So I thought he'd be a fun addition. and I was kind of expecting you guys to have him, so I'm concerned maybe I'm too high on him as a terrible DP, but maybe you, Andrew, have him because I see that smirk. But
Maybe.
making me feel better about the pick for sure now.
All right, my number 5, right? Is that what we're up to?
That is what we're up to.
All right, I'm hitting home for you for this one, Andrew. Close to home.
Good. I love that. I love getting close to home.
I've got a one Frank Rost at number 5.
That's
I hope you
harsh.
got. Is it harsh?
I think it's harsh.
Harsh, like too low, or harsh that he's even on the list?
I think it's harsh he's even on the list, but go on.
Well, all right. Well, let's consider the fact
yeah.
that a goalkeeper DP is already a bit risky in and of itself. I think that's like, in my opinion, that might be more risky than even like a center back DP. But bringing in a 38-year-old goalkeeper DP, that's something. And he played, I think, 11 times. He had five clean, maybe 11 times. Actually, I've got 5 clean sheets in 11, which is actually not bad. But considering he had a 65% save percentage, I'm going to say that it was probably his defense in front of him bailing him out. And yeah, I just think that the idea of in and of itself of bringing in a 38-year-old goalkeeper DP, it basically automatically put him on my list. And
what year was this? I don't even remember him.
I believe it was 2011.
Yep,
Oh.
2011.
With my boy Tim Ream protecting his butt.
That's why he kept the 5 clean sheets. Duh.
Exactly.
That's right. So here's my counter to this. This was the year before my boy Luis Robles showed up. We had gone through 4 different goalkeepers for injury, inability to play, whatever, and we were making at the time, I believe we were still making a push to get into the playoffs. So Frank Ross became available. Red Bull Global pulled some strings. We got him in kind of like an Omer Damari sort of signing loan type of thing, where there was no expectation for him to come in. They were going to pay him what they needed to pay him so that we can get into the playoffs and move on. We were flipping between Greg Sutton at 34 years old, Buna Time and Buna Kandul, who was good for a worldie and then good for an absolute shocker in the span of about 15 minutes. Chris Konopka, who I don't think actually made any appearances for us, but he was a lifer that jumped around, and 24-year-old Alex Horwath, who I don't think ever made an appearance for us either. So we didn't have any reliable options. We needed to bring somebody in. Luis Robles was still a year away, and Ryan Mera had not been drafted yet. So I think it's harsh because I don't think the expectation was there to go to Eli's criteria there. However, okay, like I'm not going to fight that hard with you because he wasn't great. Like, yeah, he had 5 clean sheets, but I mean, what did we do in MLS 2011 season other than how badly did we mess this up is the question, right? Did we bounce out? Was this the Houston year? This might have been the Houston year.
Were they what?
Oh no, this was Galaxy.
We won that year, but we beat
this was
Houston
Galaxy.
2011 and 2012.
Yeah.
But
this was Roy Miller penalty to David Beckham year. And then I believe Rafa Marquez got another red card in this one because why wouldn't he?
Yeah. But let's save that name.
No. Did I let that slip early? My bad. Yeah. So harsh. Yeah. Do I hate it? I'm indifferent. Go ahead.
Well, I wish you would have put your opinion, so that's okay.
Love it.